If you're thinking of fitting lithium, new solar or a VRM from Victron, you should watch this video. Has the upgraded electrical system on Impavidus been worth the investment? When we spent time and money installing a Raspberry Pi to monitor it for us, was it really a wise choice? Has the VRM been useful? And what about those lithium batteries? Worth the investment? Hopefully showing you the results of the decisions we made a year ago will help you with the power systems on your boat. Enjoy the video. First, let's look at solar. We already had two 165 watt solar panels on our boat, giving us 330 watts in total. These two panels running in series produce at least 1 kilowatt every day, and on a good day they can produce 1.5 or nearly 2 kilowatt hours. That's two 160 Bosch panels running in series. Just over a year ago we added two 210 watt Lexron panels which we purchased in Turkey. These have produced up to 2 kilowatts a day, some days even more. On a good day that's over 4.5 kilowatts that we can produce, and it still is not the peak of the sunny season. Running both sets of panels through our Victron regulators in series has been the best setup for us. Running them in parallel did not give us the same efficiency. The MPPT chargers work much better when they're supplied with a higher voltage, and so both of our sets of panels are running in series. Here's a screenshot. I've just taken this screenshot using our Victron app. If you look at what the 420 watt panels are producing, they're actually producing just under 41 volts, 6.3 amps. The total network output is 489 watts, but the voltage into the battery is 14.24 at 17.5 amps. And it's a similar story for the 330 array. You can see here that the 330 array is producing 35.6 volts at 6.4 amps. The total array is now up to 520 watts, and the batteries are charging at 14.18 or 15.7 amps. Add that together with the other panel and that's a lot of power going in. This means that most days we're fully charged by midday, up to 100% on our lithium. Now we're going to talk about the flexibility of the lithium, but this ability to charge back up to 100% easily by midday allows us to run more electrical systems at night or during the rest of the day. But more about that later. But just a quick example, these peaks on the graph are us running an electric kettle from our solar on the inverter. At this point, I just want to make things clear. We are absolutely not sponsored by anyone. The equipment that we show on our videos is stuff we have bought and paid for ourselves from my meagre pension or our savings. We don't get money from Victron, and we certainly don't get money from YouTube to place products. It's thanks to our Patreons that you get to see these videos, as they help provide the necessary funds for us to continue making videos. Okay, enough said. Now the screenshots that you've seen already come from the Victron app. I'll leave a link in the description. But basically our 712 battery monitor system and our solar charge regulators are linked together on the app. If nothing else, the ability to monitor in real time or when we feel it's necessary has been a real godsend. And the app works with Macs, Windows-based machines, tablets, iPads and all phones. It really is quite good. So changing to the history tab on the battery monitor page, you can see that our average discharge rate is around 162 amp hours. A quick bit of maths, 162 times 12.8 nominal volts gives you 2073 watt hours. That's our average discharge. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. Now it's this average discharge rate that you need to calculate before you size your batteries and your solar panels, regardless of whether you're using lithium or not. Think of it like this. The figure you see here, 162 amp hours, is our average consumption. Taking the time to set our system up correctly and have it working efficiently means that by midday, most days, we're back at 100%. And actually, with lithium, we don't need to be back at 100%. Let's show you a typical morning. So, the 420 panels, and it's kind of hazy sunshine at the moment. They're doing 239, 242, but the overall wattage is 455 watts going in. It's normally on a good day that's about 600, 650 watts. We've got the kettle going at the moment, so we're using 53 amps on the kettle. We've got 5 hours remaining at that kind of wattage. We're at 71% at 10:52, and we were at 80 before we went to bed last night. So I would imagine once the kettle goes off, and of course we're running the hooker all day yesterday, or most of the day, cleaning the bottom of the boat. That draws 83 amps through the inverter at 12 volts. So yeah, it's we're totally self-sufficient now. Not quite so during the winter, but probably 66%, 70% efficient during the winter. Depends where we are, of course, and what the weather's like. And as I said before, all this information is coming from our charge controllers and our Victron battery monitoring system using the Victron Connect app. The app keeps the records of your Victron controllers' performance over the last 30 days, and a similar thing with the battery monitor. But most usefully, all of this data can be downloaded as a CSV or XL type file to your phone or to your computer. The files can be combined or added to at any given time, and having all this data, well, there's no end to what you can do with it. Let's look at our change to lithium. Was it worth the money? Just over a year ago we changed our 4 100 amp hour AGM batteries to 2 200 amp hour lithium. We also changed our charging system for the lithium. Rather than go directly from the alternator, we used 2 Victron battery to battery chargers rated at 30 amp each. The 4 old 100 amp hour AGMs gave us approximately 5,000 watt hours, of which 2,500 plus or minus a bit was usable, without going below the 45 to 50% maximum discharge recommended for AGMs. AGMs are generally very robust, and some of them can be charged a lot quicker than a conventional lead acid battery. However, while AGMs can be charged much quicker than conventional lead acid batteries in most instances, their absorption times are roughly the same, and it can spend maybe 30-40% of its time in absorption before reaching 100% state of charge. Now you also have to take account of the voltage drop with all lead acid batteries. As the state of charge falls, so does the battery voltage, and this means that something drawing 100 watts, for example, will draw more amperage as the battery voltage falls. And you can see that here. At 13 volts, 100 watts would be drawing 7.6 amps, nearly a full amp less than at 11.8 volts. So as your lead acid battery discharges, you're actually using more amperage for the same watts. When you try to charge that battery back up again, the majority of its time will be spent in absorption or even in float before it gets to 100%. And it doesn't matter how much power you've got available to make that charge, the batteries simply won't accept it. Generator, solar, whatever you use, the batteries can't take on board all of that charge. Now let's take exactly the same size of batteries in amp hours, only lithium. You can see that compared with the blue AGM batteries on the left hand side, that the green lithium batteries are capable of providing a lot more power. That's the red area. Our lithium batteries can go down to about 5% state of charge, but it's recommended that you don't take them much below 15. So I've said 15. But as you can see here, that's almost the same amount of power again that you can get from lithium. As a lithium battery's state of charge reduces, the battery voltage, the nominal voltage, remains pretty constant at around 12.8 volts. This constant voltage compared to an AGM or lead acid battery makes lithium much more efficient, and this efficiency means they last longer. Let's have a look at how lithiums charge. If you look at the charge current and voltage for a lithium battery, you'll see that throughout the charge cycle it's much more constant, right up to 93 or 95% of state of charge. And this is a massive advantage compared with AGMs or lead acid. You can charge lithium with as much as they'll take, basically. The limitations are usually set by the battery's management system. For example, our 2 batteries can each be charged at 200 amps each if we had a 400 amp alternator or generator. In theory, given enough power, we could completely charge our discharged batteries in just over an hour from flat. Lithium has a number of other advantages. For example, a typical AGM or lead acid battery is good for 500 to 800 cycles, and then it's just about had it. However, a lithium battery can be good for up to 8,000 cycles, as are rated at 5,000. Now, depending on what type of battery you get, lithium can also be up to 50% smaller. And of course, lithium can also be up to 50% lighter. Lithium battery costs continue to fall. I've recently seen them as low as $480 for a 100 amp hour lithium battery. So are lithium batteries dangerous? Well, the short answer is no. They are no more dangerous than any other type of stored energy. However, some people have a vested interest in calling lithium dangerous. Raspberry Pi and Victron VRM. Along with the lithium, we also put a Multiplus from Victron. This is a charger and inverter unit all in one. You can manage this using the Cerberus CX system from Victron, but we opted to use a Raspberry Pi and do the programming ourselves. It was a bit kind of beyond my ability, but with some help from people on the internet, I managed to get it up and running. And once we got the software correct, we found that it's actually very useful. Using the touch display screen, we can adapt, modify or program any of the systems which are linked to the Raspberry Pi. We can also get on to the Victron VRM. What's the VRM? Well, this is. Our Raspberry Pi is connected to our Wi-Fi on the boat. Every few minutes it sends data to a website run by Victron, their VRM. The VRM stores all of the data that the Raspberry Pi collects from all of the peripherals. So that's the charge regulators, the battery monitor, the inverter, our generator, the solar panels, basically anything which puts in or takes out power from the system. It then coordinates all of that into graphs automatically for us, and we can then scroll through these graphs looking at the data. It really is quite useful. And the very best thing about it is it's free. Yep, it's free. Now, how often do you hear that word said in the boating community? Our Patreons get access to read-only data on this website. The VRM has been incredibly useful in allowing us to get, well, a view of how much power we're using, where we're using it, at what time of day, and whether our system is actually working efficiently. I love it, but then I am a bit geeky. In fact, I'm still looking at ways that I can process this data to get the most out of it. And, well, so you can get the most out of it as well. After all, that's one of the reasons we did it. So in summary, would we do it again? Well, undoubtedly, the solar panels have been a game changer. We probably have more capacity than we need, but you know what they say, you can never have enough solar. Would we change to lithium again? Absolutely. I mean, prices have fallen. The battery technology for the BMSs has got so much better. And actually, we might add more to what we've already got. It's been an eye-opener. Why we didn't do it sooner, I don't know. The Raspberry Pi and the VRM? Well, at the time, Raspberry Pis were pretty cheap. They've just shot up in price. But certainly I've learnt a great deal, not just about Raspberry Pis and computers, but how to manage our use of electricity on the boat to get the optimum from our systems for the smallest investment in time and, of course, money. Hello. I hope you enjoyed the video. I wanted to put a video together that summarised all the electrical work that we'd done in the last year, 18 months. You know, the solar, the lithium, the inverter charger and the upgrades on the solar, as well as the Raspberry Pi and the VRM. The only thing I can say is that having more solar has been great. We're certainly taking advantage of it. We're now using our lithium batteries through our inverter to heat our water when we want hot water from our clarifier or boiler. The other thing that we're doing is we've now switched to an electric kettle, and our gas now lasts us 6 to 8 weeks because we simply don't use the gas. We tend to use an electric kettle, or we've got a little electric hob that we can use. And of course, during the summer we're using the barbecue anyway quite a lot. The Raspberry Pi, I guess it was a bit of an indulgence at the time, but I'm so glad we fitted it. Now that we've got the right software, the right firmware, and we've got it set up well, there's so much more that we can add to it, including bilge alarms that email us when they come on, smoke detectors, gas alarms, all sorts that all can remotely get in touch with us and tell us if something's going wrong. And of course then there's the data, and the record keeping has been invaluable. I certainly would change again all of the things that we've done. I think that the only thing that we might do differently is that we might have more lithium. We'd like to have fitted the 300 amp hour lithium batteries instead of two 200 amp hours, and that's simply so that we can go longer between charges. The other thing is the Victron B2Bs. Now we've got 2 sets of computer fans cooling those, and they do get extremely hot. So Victron, if you're watching, guys, sort it out. It can't be that difficult. You know, we're considering going to an external regulator on our 115 amp alternator because of the heat that those B2Bs generate on a hot day when you're motoring and charging your batteries hard. So yeah, I think we'd probably do that slightly different, but for the moment it's working fine. We're charging with 2 B2Bs in parallel, 60 amps, and then whatever the sun puts in on top of that when we're sailing or motor sailing, and that's generally up around the 80 or 90 amps mark, which means that our batteries are charged extremely quickly. So yeah, that's the things we might do different. The Raspberry Pi, quite happy with that. Yes, we have to update the firmware on a regular basis as different things happen with the system. It's open source software, so you know, a lot of people are changing things and making things different. We have a look through at what's available probably once a month, every 6 weeks or so. Yeah, and I'm enjoying playing with it. Gives me something to do, keeps me out of the pub. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video anyway. So don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, and share it with someone that might find this useful, especially if they're thinking about solar panels or changing to lithium or fitting a Raspberry Pi. And don't forget that we did individual videos on the solar upgrades, the Multi Plus, the Raspberry Pi and the lithium, and I'll list them all down in the comments below. Meanwhile, sail safe guys, and I'll see you very soon in the next video. Bye for now.